This is Mario with MIA Microflight, and I wanted to do this video because this is sometimes, it's not all the time, but it's very on rare occasions I run into videos such as the one that I'm going to show you. And what happens when I make comments on some of these videos. Now, I am the designer of this particular model that this gentleman here, Jimmy Theriot, under his channel Jimmy Theriot, is displaying here. Now, what I'm about to show you is the way he has this model. Now, the name SilentElectrics.com is one of my distributors in California that I was selling these kits in sort of in small quantities when that company was alive. I think that company has been taken down, or they folded a while back. But this is a while back that I sold to SilentElectrics.com. And the gentleman that ran that company came to me and asked me specifically to if I can put the lettering www.silentelectrics.com on the wings, and so that's how I sold it to him. I had no issues with that, even though the model is obviously an MIA Microflight Quicksilver Style RC Ultralight. Now, this gentleman here, I stumbled on this video because from his previous videos. This is the channel right here, and this is the model right there. Okay, now the way I know about this channel,
you gotta like the real actual like.
Here's what they don't want homeowners in America to know.
So, why doesn't every home in the U.S.
I'm having to do this because it's the only way that I can capture this right now in a quick way. I apologize for those little interruptions there. So this gentleman came into my recent quarter scale RC Ultralight, and he said, you know, I have the smaller version of that, but he didn't point out to which one it was. So that got me interested, and I came to his channel, and sure enough, I find out he does have one of my smaller versions here. This is the 60-inch version here, but nowhere in his comments, he's mentioning anything about the where this kit comes from or any of that information. That's not the important thing. The important thing is what I said, and he's removed my comment here. And now I went to great length to put a comment here to give him a little information about this kit and the way I designed the kit and the way it should be flown. Now, you know, once I sell the products, customers can do whatever they want with that kit as long as they don't reproduce it for sale. That's just not the way I sell these things. You know, with as any company would do in similar way. You know, so I don't care what they do for personal reasons, but I did stumble on this because he came to my video and he said he's got the smaller version. So I came to see what this was, how he was flying, and so
Ultralight up for flight.
This is what he says.
One thing I did was I shortened the body.
He shortened the body.
Probably about 2.5, 3 inches.
He shortened it by 2.5, 3 inches. Make it closer to the wing.
I'm running a 4S 5000.
4S 5000.
3536.
3536. 1000 kV.
On the front. I'm running it with a 10x7.
With a 10x7 prop.
We'll see how she do. Been having this for a while. The first time I put a 12-inch prop on there, it had too much torque, roll, crashed it.
The first time he put a 12-inch prop, too much torque, he crashed it. Okay, let me pause that for a minute here, and let me explain what's going on here. Now, first of all, he shortened the body. That is going to change the dynamics of the model as I designed it. I have countless videos on this particular model because I've been producing it for many, many years, and every single flight is the same way. These models, first of all, are ultralights for a reason. Ultralights do not require brute power. That is with not just the models, but also with the full-scale ones. You do not put an engine here that you're going to put on a Cessna or something a little more, more full scale 3-axis aircraft. That's got a full wing, up and down, fully cover wing, symmetrical or flat bottom wing. So this is an ultralight that's got a camber wing. It's truly an ultralight in the sense of an ultralight, because I designed the model and I spent a number of years developing this to the point that it is to this level, and it has been for many years since I was selling these kits, since I've been selling these kits. The framework, number one, shortening the framework, it is going to change those dynamics, because now the weight of the model where the battery sits is going to be higher than where it's supposed to be for stabilization. So the model is going to be a little more reactive, more sensitive to the roll. And so I think you'll see this as soon as I continue with this video and show you the takeoff of the model. So that's one of the reasons, and I explained this in my comment to him, which he has decided to take it down for some reason. Why do people take down good comments like that are pointing you from a designer point of view, how the model was designed and how it's intended to fly as a point of reference. I'm not saying that you should keep it the way you can do whatever you want with your model. Like I was saying, as long as it's for personal reasons, I don't give a damn, what you do with it once it's in your hands. And but it is things that they catch my attention when I see stuff like that, and I go, what, you're totally defeating the purpose of the design here by changing lowering or raising the stability feature that is inherent in the height of the trike itself. I don't know why he raised it up. Maybe he wanted to, a lot of people like to introduce changes in models just to say, that they contributed to the design, they made it better. No, go look at all my videos, and you're not going to top any of those videos by making changes, from what the original design was supposed to be. I'll tell you that. I'll be point blank. That's how it is. So that's one thing with the shape of the model, number one, and then you're changing the whole aspect of the Quicksilver style, because the Quicksilver style is very elegant in a way. You go changing that, you're totally going to mess up that design, from an aesthetical point of view, not only a mechanical and aerodynamic point of view. The other thing is the motor that he's using. He mentioned that he was using a 12-inch prop. Now, when I sold these kits to silentelectrics.com, I gave them all the information, as to what particular equipment they should be selling these models with. I'm sure they had that in their website, because I did go to silentelectrics.com when they started selling this, and I started looking at the way they were describing the models, and it was nothing more than a copy of what I described my models in my website. It was lifted, as it should be. If a seller is going to sell your products, they're probably going to lift, whatever information you have. There's no point in revamping that or redoing or changing that. It's per manufacturer, original manufacturer design, or per OEM, as the letters indicate, original equipment manufactured. So that information has been there at their website, and how he got this model, I don't know, but I pointed that to him in a comment, and these are nice comments. I'm not, putting down people. I gave him kudos for the flight. I go, great flying, that's cool, but, keep in mind these tips and a little more information on the model, how I designed the model. And so I pointed that to him, but he's decided to remove that, and that's the reason why I'm doing this video, because on rare occasions, I will comment on something like this, and a few people have taken it down. I guess they don't like the way I comment things. I guess they don't want that information out there for some reason. I don't see why they would take it down. Unless they're trying to introduce their own little things that they want people to, make it look like it's part of their own design or something like that. I have run into people that have done that, as well as lifted, boldly lifted my designs and called it theirs. As an example, a good example, that's my rubber powered helicopter that I've been posting videos on. That's the reason why I did those videos as well, because I had to call out that guy, because he boldly lifted my design from my plans that I produced in '92, and it's calling it his. So I'm pretty sure he's feeling, if he has some level if he's somewhat scrupulous, he's probably going to feel bad that he did that. You just don't do that. Being inspired by something, a design is in you calling it that, and being inspired by that's something else than just lifting something and calling it totally yours. The Quicksilver was inspired, the way I designed it was inspired by the real thing. But if you look at the connections, if you look at the way I approach this design, detail by detail, you'll see that there is a lot of engineering, original engineering that has gone into this particular design. It's not a point by point, detail by detail copy of the Quicksilver. I introduced, a lot of my own engineering design features in the not only in the approach to assembly, but also in the use of materials, how I do these things, the methods I employ, the type of parts that I employ in here, to arrive at a model that is not only flyable, has high performance, but it's also durable. Now, let me continue with the power system that he has here, and let this video be also a point of reference, for anybody that has these models. Once again, ultralights, in the way I intended this model to be, is a truly ultralight. Therefore, you got to use finesse in power. You don't use brute power, meaning that these models do not like high torquey motors. A 12-inch propeller, I don't know what pitch he had there, but a 12-inch propeller is way overkill for a model of this nature, truly ultralight. The other thing is that you have to be careful in the motor to prop configuration. There's a sweet spot there that happens when you try to match a motor kV with a propeller. Now, the rule of thumb for that, for anybody that understands this, will understand where I'm coming from, is that higher kV motors work better with smaller propellers because they have a much higher rotation than a lower kV motor that works better with larger, or is designed for larger propellers. Lower kV, large propeller; higher kV, smaller propeller diameter. That is the rule of thumb. Just to keep it very simple, without getting too much into the physics of that. So anybody that flies models and has been doing this for a while and knows how to select proper motor to propeller understands this. So that should not be an issue. But I had to point that out because this gentleman here, number one, he used a 12-inch propeller, which is overkill, and then he's got a 9x7 prop, even at that size, which is the original size of the what I called for this particular design. I use a 9x4.5 with a 1200 kV motor, 12 to 1400 kV motor on 3 cells. 3 to 4 cells. 4 cells is way overkill, on some of my models. I don't fly these things with 4 cells. I fly them with 3 cells, and he's flying with a 4 cell 500 kV motor, 4 cell 5000 milliamp hour battery, which is fine. The milliamps is just how much capacity you have in the battery. And I have flown also with 5000 milliamp hour or 5 amp battery 3S cells, and I keep them 3S to keep the model lightweight so that it's also able to land lightly, and in case of a crash, the damage is minimal. Okay, now as much as I employ features on these models to prevent them from getting totaled in a crash, in a hard crash, there are times where you have to land a little bit hard, and some things are going to get damaged in that process. It's just the nature, especially with a custom model that is built, this way. Now, I employ materials here in a logical and methodical ways. I have explained in so many of my ultralight videos. I use aluminum and carbon where it is required. Okay, so that's the other thing. So some of the tips that I was presenting to this gentleman here in a comment, in a very friendly and nice way, and like I said, I like to give people kudos, for I saw the way he's flying, and he looks like he can fly these things. And this is not a hard model to fly if you have flying, ready control flying skills. It just takes a little bit of tweaking in the CG in particular you got to bring the CG forward of the point of balance, which is about 25 to 30% from the leading edge of the wing. And if you can have it slightly, and I put all those things in my step-by-step instructions, which are done by CAD, illustrated instructions, which you cannot go wrong. And all the things, the way I produce these kits are by step in bags individually. I've never had any issues with anybody complaining about my instructions with these kits or the way that I assemble these things, or even anything, which says a lot of positive things in a kind of quiet way. As the saying goes, no news is good news. But when I run into videos like that, I have to put my 2 cents there. Because especially when I see people changing things that they should not be changing, if they wanted to keep the model with the same performance as I fly in my videos. Okay, so that's the other issue, the power. I don't think this gentleman knows enough about those things, and so I didn't want to. And that's not my point. It's not to scold or reprimand anybody. That's not the point here. The point is that I'm trying to share some tips to help them, get this model in its top performance, because it only helps me as a manufacturer, designer of this model, when I see videos that are done properly by customers. And if they're not doing it, it is my job. It is something that no other manufacturer will take, because no other manufacturers like myself. I am the only guy in the world that has been producing this, supporting this, talking directly to customers, and I am here constantly on my videos pointing these things out. There no other manufacturer does this, because number one, they are in business of making profits. They're not in the business of for the fun of the hobby and for the love of it. Yeah, there are some people that are in those companies for the love of the hobby, but major companies are more concerned with profits, and period. That's how the world runs. Anybody that understands Business 101 understands that. Okay, I don't operate that way. Even though Business 101 is important for the success of a company and the prolongation of that company. Now, I've been, it's a small company. I have been around for close to 25 years, if that says anything about my company and the integrity and all these things that I've been saying and I've been doing. So I like those things, do the talking, but when I see videos like this, you're probably going to hear, my 2 cents there. Whether you want to keep my comments, that's up to you, but I have to point this out because it is, it's just unfortunate that people that buy my products, and in this particular, like this gentleman here, has decided, to remove my comment, which was more of a, thank you for this purchase, thank you for the video, thank you for showing, how you're flying this model, but here are a couple tips on the way the model was designed, the way that you should be, give that some thought. So that's the reason why I'm doing this video, and let's continue here. Let's see how this takes off. Now he's redoing it, and when somebody starts redoing something, that's sending a message, saying, I'm putting my 2 cents here. Now, like I said, I don't care what people do with their products. I've done many times modifications to original products. In fact, I did a lot of work, for the E-Flight line of helicopters after I had brought out my original micro palm size helicopters. But I did that because I had originally done that way before, and I was revamping my products parts to make the products they were coming after the fact a lot better. And so that's where my work with the E-Flight, Wakira, all these other helicopters that came after the fact comes into play. My upgrades were actually my original parts that I developed for my own helicopters way before them, and I started selling them as upgrades because they just, they were doing the same sizes, the same thing, kind of the same thing in terms of scale, but and it just so happens that all my stuff was made a lot better and made a lot of those products much resilient, to crashes and much better. So let's continue with this video and see. I'm only going to show the takeoff and landing because those are the most important things that that I am concerned with. You know, when I do videos of even with my own videos, how does a model take off and how does the model land? Okay, that's not a bad takeoff. Okay, so I gave him kudos for that and his type of flying, because it does take somebody that knows how to fly radio control models, to
That rudder stays stuck sometimes. That's another thing I'm going to redo. And probably move the servos also.
Okay, let me pause there. He goes, the rudder gets stuck sometimes, and I'm probably going to redo the motor, the servo locations, or the servos. And I also commented on that because I watched the whole video and then I was looking at what is he doing and where can I help him with some of these things. So in terms of the rudder getting stuck, the rudder is only going to get stuck if the control horn. Now I use my own control horns. I don't use baud or commercial control horns. I made them in a way that I use consistently the same parts that I use throughout my whole model. I use bolts, real 632 bolts with nylon P-clips. The way in way that I do my horns, where you can adjust the length of the horn by unwinding the P-clip that threads over those screws. And why I did that is because I wanted to, for two reasons. I wanted to maintain consistency of the parts. I wanted to make those a signature feature of all my kits, which have become a signature feature. That's what I call it, MIA trademark hardware. It took me a while before sourcing the particular P-clips that I use in these particular models, and that has become a trademark of all my kits, not only my ultralights, microlights, helicopters, outer gyros, lanyards, you name it, everything that I have produced here. So, and it just so lands very well to doing easy adjustments the way I just explained. Now, if that is not set up according to the plans, I have a full page and I show that clearly in the illustrations how to adjust that so it doesn't create a bind. Now, the only way that would bind if the link that connects to that control horn is too tight on two screws that sandwich the hook to that link. That's one detail that I pointed in my comment to him that he took out. The other thing is I said relocating those servos, to somewhere else is going to hinder the. It's probably going to hinder to some degree the balance of the model. The location of those servos on the wing, underneath the wing, where I placed them, they are designed with the thought of the CG balance point on the wing. So they're designed, again, methodically and logically based on those with those considerations. Same with the ailerons. Everything is, but they are adjustable in distance forward to backward on the wing, so that you can adjust and you don't need to, different size links. You can just simply attach the servo, and you can even put a little more pitch on the control surfaces that way. So it's done. I mean, I can't explain that any more simpler than it. It's a very clever way. Although I am giving kudos to the way I designed that, but that's how I did it. It's not a fixed point, and it's done that way to allow the user to simply adjust the servo distance forward and back, and you can micro adjust, the position of the aileron rudder angle. And so that's but you can also do it, through the radio, electronically, with your trims, or you could adjust, the link itself mechanically through the set screws that are attached to the servo horns. Okay, so I pointed that also to him. Oh, the model's flying great because it is a great flyer. It is a great flying model. The 9x7 propeller that he's using here. Let me pause this.
Way to stop food from becoming waste.
Okay, the 9x7 propeller, like I said, it's a little too much because
So how
I fly with a 9x4.5, and that has been the magical for me. So after trying so many combinations, the magical point to keep it lightweight and efficient. So it's flying great. So I give him kudos for that, which is great. I love to see customers flying, my products that way, because I get tired of looking at my own stuff fly. I know how my models fly, and I for me to show so many videos of the same thing, me flying, it's I get tired of that, and I'm pretty sure customers do too. So here's the landing. Watch this landing. Okay, now he's coming in with a little power here, and he has to, because the model is, number one, is a little bit heavier with that heavy battery. He's using a 4-cell 4S battery on this model. Now I like flying. You could use a 4S. I'm not saying you can't, but I like flying my models with 3S because it keeps the landings very easy to land. I mean, it's not a floater. You still have to come in with a little power, but not as much power as he's showing here on this video. And he's coming in a little bit hot here, because you have to maintain that momentum in order for the model to come down, to a landing without crash. Anybody knows that, that's from the radio control model. So those were my comments, in the comment that he removed to him, which I'm reiterating here in this video. Okay.
Probably gonna remove those the elevator and the rudder servo. They right here. So whenever you function them, it kind of makes the wing twist. See, same thing with the rudder. And the rudder, sometimes it don't go back to center. It hangs up. So I'm gonna have to figure out.
Okay, so what he's pointing here is a good point, and once again, it's because of the link right here at the rudder horn, not at the servo horn as much, but at the rudder horn. He's got that a little too tight, and so in one direction it tends to get stuck. I believe that's what he's showing here, and it's not returning back to the center. That should be returning directly to the center. And so that's the point where you have to check, and I point that in my instructions for this reason, so that you have a rudder that returns back to the center as it should be. All my models return to the center because I don't have those two. I have two nylock screws there that hold the control horn in place on the screw that acts as a control horn. This is solid hardware that I use. I don't use, plastic horns. I don't use none of that stuff. This is hard, solid metal hardware that I'm using in a creative way to create those horns. But the way I also attach that connection from the wire link through a loop to that screw is with two set screws, nylon set screws, because they're nylock set screws, so they retain themselves and they don't come loose in flight. This is the last thing you want is. So it's very secure that way. Something that I should point out, because not many people know this about my aircraft, that I also employ those features there for safety. I've never had anything pull out or come loose, in any of my stuff, for that reason, because I use proper hardware and to do these things. But you do have to be careful not to make those things too tight, so where it only works in one way and then it locks in the other way. So that would be that was my comment originally, to him, to keep track of that. Let's see what else is here. I forgot what else is here.
A better way to mount that. Let's see, that was 6 minutes.
Okay, he got a 6-minute flight. So I'm going to pause this video and call it the end here, because there's not much more I can say about this, except for those two, not two, but those details that I pointed out here. So anyway, this is not to anything negative towards this channel or this gentleman here. Once again, I'm giving him kudos, for flying the way he flew this model, and thank you for showing it. But don't remove my comments. My issue is with removing comments, from somebody who designed this model, pointing these things out. That I'm pointing this video, and that's the reason I'm doing this video, is just to bring that back into view, so that it serves as a point of reference, not only to this gentleman here, but to others who may have my kit. Once again, this is Mario with my Microflight. Sorry this video took long, but it had to. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.